Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 8 of the Mechanics of Poetry, where we try to get into the nuts and bolts of creating poetry. Today, what might be considered a very scary subject: how to create a sestina. The sestina is notorious for being the longest form of all the classic forms. I guess that couldn't be contained in one poem, right? You have everything from the couplet. Actually, you can have an American sentence that's only one line, right? And the couplets 2, and everybody knows the tercet and the quatrain 3 and 4. And then you start getting into some of the more famous forms like the rondel and the sonnet and the villanelle. Those are like 12, 14, and 19 lines. And then there's the big daddy, the sestina, 39 lines. That sounds scary. But these people that invented these forms, they had a system. They had a system there was a purpose behind it. And the sestina's purpose was meant to, and I've been reading up on it, it was meant to, and I quote, highlight an idea. That's kind of cryptic. That's kind of mysterious. Highlight an idea. The only thing that I can interpret that, having written a sestina, is that it's a way of visiting an idea 7 times. That's really what sestina does. So there's a rhythm established, even though a sestina is a non-rhyming poem. It does not rhyme. Many people are shocked. Form and it doesn't rhyme. Yes, that's right. There are blank verse sonnets, right, that don't rhyme as well. And so getting back to the sestina itself, common knowledge for those who have studied it, that sestina has 6 line stanzas and 1 3-line envoy at the end, right? Total of 39 lines. That's well known for those who've even just looked at sestinas. And when it comes to composing a sestina, it has a deceptively simple start that can also be a little tricky for your mind, because to start off, you're choosing 6 words. How do you choose the 6 words? Well, there are as many ways to choose the 6 words as there are poets in existence. Back in 2008, I wrote my first sestina, and it was in a workshop setting, and I was asking everybody to come up with 6 words. And because I was leading the workshop, I was too busy leading it to come up with my own 6 words. So I asked everybody, give me a word. So 6 different people gave me a word, and I used those 6 words, and it just turned out very well. They were so disparate, so different. It was just a wild sestina. But most people, when they're creating a sestina, they want to highlight an idea, right? Like one particular idea. And I can give you an example of that real quick if you want to give it a try, because it's kind of something I want to try. For example, you might have heard of a song called My Favorite Things. So if you made a list of 6 of your favorite things, that would be highlighting an idea, right? Favorite things. And I like to think it would be easy to come up with a list of 6 favorite things. I like to think. So I made a list of 6 favorite things, and I'm going to write that sestina later, because there's not enough time in this episode to actually write a sestina here and now. But we're, the 4 of us, where each of us is going to give a pointer that'll help you along the way. Okay, so my pointer is an idea, 6 words on one idea. And my idea was that I want to try is my 6 favorite things. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Now the sestina itself traditionally is written in iambic pentameter, right? That's your classic line of poetry, 5 beats, usually 10 syllables, but there are variations on that as well. And of course, If you look at modern day sestinas, they're just about any length at all. I've seen short line sestinas, long line sestinas, Alexandrian sestinas. I've seen sestinas with varied lines. It's just, but the one thing they all have in common is that repetition of the 6 words. And I'm just going to show you at a glance something that one of us is going to go into in more detail later. But with your 6 words, you arrange them like this. Okay. So initially, it's the first 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the second stanza starts with number 6, goes to number 1, then 5, then 2, then 4, then 3. So you see the pattern is not linear. And later on, another of our members is going to be able to show you a way of not having to remember that. But I wrote it down. I'll show it one more time. And you can find this on the internet. I mean, that's where I found it. So this pattern is easy to find on the internet. And it's just where those 6 words go in every line. So it's like you're building a skeleton, but the skeleton is on the right side, and it's not the left margin, but it's on the right side, the words on the right. So you can build it toward those words. Say whatever makes it flow, whatever thought follows. Okay, so essentially, that's all there is to a sestina. But I think if you listen to a sestina, we've got somebody here to my left or right, is Jackie Chou, and she's going to share with us a sestina so that we can hear the pattern and maybe even steal an idea.
Okay.
First, this interruption. Okay. Are you ready, Jackie?
Okay. Yes.
Who's it by?
Sestina for My Sister. Poetry by Amanda Gorman.
Amanda Gorman.
The stones come to dance, parachuting up. 4 black rocks gasp slowly for air, like fish in a daze. My feet dart ripples in the water, cool and neat as knives, wind aching to peel down my panties. It sings my skirt off my skin, ripped in fishbone, too. It wants inside me, the black girl reading by the river. And I may just be the black girl reading by the river, but there's something too familiar in what the wind runs toward. The thought churns blood wild, iron softened into dew. I tell the wind I've seen worse things than dress billowing, a gaze that killed me, a boy that took, dressed as a man who panted on my face till it burst, till my red tissue was eaten white. His lips rolled thick like sausage meat. Thanks to him, my tongue always sags with cotton. Words quiver in my mouth, marred by moth. Many men I've met can't name themselves. Don't know you can't bloom what is broken or ajar or worse. Look at the stones popping up and out like the craze of a fowl's kneecaps. Does the river roll for the town it lamplit blue? The sun, golden retriever, chases the stick God threw over the horizon. Unlike the wind he didn't catcall in the street, the egg-white beast running till the yoke of 1,000 Sundays fills my throat. I think of choking. His erection was like a frozen liver, hard but of so much flesh. Here my body tips at right angles to pour him out downstream. After the breaking, I was dust-bodied. a panther cremated. 6-year-old me thought myself participant to my own Jenga. At least the wind had the manners to chew me gumless when he salivated me whole. Took his time for the quenching. Do boys think of rivers, of gasping rocks, of heat, lust stark as awaited rain, black girl as a thin crumbling like a sliver of rust? I prayed wordless for my pupils to pull into hazel. Now I pray for them to be alive. Then I can sow a das brimming with all the mess who died before me. A twilight pantheon, big-boned with the swords of survivors at the river, a hill fisted so tight no wind can peel inside. Only the many few who gasped in blackness, pulling oxygen from the mud for one sweet rip loudly from laughter, and nothing more. Skinned stones jiving in the river wink. Sister, me too, us too, been blazed the brightest black from this rampant beating of waves. We always dance when our bodies break against the shore.
Wow, thank you for that reading, Jackie.
Okay.
And if
You're
you look
welcome.
carefully, I was able to find the poem. It just hit me while you're reading it. Maybe I could find it because it is a very
Yes.
famous poem.
Yeah.
Amanda went to Harvard, a great place to learn how to write a sestina.
Yes.
And one of the things they taught her is that you could do variations of that word. If you look at the word pant
Uh-huh.
in this poem, let's see, can I scroll up? Yeah.
Pantheon. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So like here's the start. She's got the words for, days, neat, pant, to, and river. Very simple words.
Oh.
So pant is usually pant, but sometimes she uses a variation like can't. And then she also says participant.
Oh.
So she does variations. So that's a little poetic license there. Like I said, there's no one way to do this. And if you went to Harvard, hey, she learned this. This must be a way.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, it's cool,
yeah, go ahead.
Don, that when artists have the liberty to kind of make the poem their own and play with the words that way, and like the way she uses sliver and liver and river, like because it's still the similar sound that
Right.
the word makes, but it's not the exact word. And so that definitely like eases up things a little bit and allows the artist to be more creative.
Right. I mean, it's where we were discussing before you came on. There's no one way to make a poem, really. If there's been anything that's been a revolution in the 21st century, the revolution of the 20th century was the poems don't have to rhyme. And the revolution in poetry in the 21st century is variations are possible. And so as long as you know the non-variation, you can do the variation. So, there's no law. You're not going to go to poetry prison for doing it a little bit differently, right? As long as you get the result. And that's the beauty of the sestina form, is that it gets you in a certain rhythm. It's actually quite a natural rhythm. It's not as stilted as a villanelle, for example. And thanks for pointing that out, James, the one with river, right? All the variations there too. And what's really impressive is the last envoy at the end. That's very impressive because it has all 6 words into 3 lines. And so it just has such a music, right? Because of her other talents like alliteration. Very strong in this poem. and imagery, right? It's the foundation of a good poem. This poem is laden with fantastic imagery, even a Jenga. I remember when I was a wee lad back in the 80s at Cal State LA, and there was a big debate about, should you put anything contemporary in a poem? Because if someone reads it 100 years from now, they won't know what it means. What's a Jenga? But that argument's kind of been thrown out the window by the internet, because you can look things up. Somebody somewhere can explain what a Jenga is, and that will be there for eternity. As long as there is internet, there will be knowledge of the Jenga. All right. Yeah, so that's the way it looks, right? It's a very substantial looking poem, right? But the foundation was 6 words, 6 simple words. 4 days, neat, pant, to river. How did she get those words? Only Amanda knows. Did you want to say something else about this poem, Jackie, before we move on?
Yeah, for people who don't like her her inauguration poem, "The Hills We Climb," this is something to read. That's you know, a little bit that's even more poetic and imagistic as that poem, "The Hill We Climb."
Yeah, it's more complex. You're right about that.
Yeah.
I thought her inaugural poem was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
For an audience, it was spectacular. Yeah, this poem is, you know, you got to go into a little more quiet time with it, catch everything. But still, some lovely lines, like "it sings my skirt off my skin." Wow. She's an alliteration master, that's for sure. All right. I can't spend all day. I've got to give other people a chance here. So I'm going to say goodbye to Amanda and Jackie for a moment here. And we're going to head over to Mark Fisher, who has an interesting variation on sestina that he has encountered. What is it, Mark?
The tritina. Do you want to see it described or just see one?
Whatever you think is best. Yeah, I'd like to see one, if that helps.
Okay. Let me get mine and see if I can get it shared.
Yeah, if you can, that'll be wonderful. Wonderful. I remember before the episode, you were saying that it's using 3 words instead of 6, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Is it working?
Yes, yes. Route 66. Let's. Do you want to read it?
Okay. Route 66. Hunting down all the dust storm jazz we can through this desert and its wild unfolding, blacktop stories of a near endless road, jalopies and jeeps and RVs in which we rode, freedom sought out wherever our fancies can, imagine like children their road maps unfolding. Each traveler's chapter and their stories unfolding, there's never 2 trips the same along the road. Each journey takes us only to the places it can, yet never can we find the end of this unfolding road.
And can you scroll down?
Oh, did it not show all of it?
Oh, no, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that was all of it. So it's 3 stanzas,
10
3
lines.
words. I mean, 3 lines, 3 stanzas, 3 line stanzas, 2 sets, and 1
Yes.
final envoy, right?
Right.
That has all 3 words. Yeah, I got that straight.
And I did one homophone,
Yeah.
road.
A road.
I didn't know if that was allowed, but I did it anyway.
Variation is the key, 21st
Exactly.
century. It really is. If you know how to do things, you can do variation. And this fascinates me because when you read it out loud, it really reminded me of a villanelle. Because it's tighter because there's only 3 words instead of 6. But I'm fascinated by, you know, I want to try this too. So thank you for sharing that, Mark. Did you want to say anything else about it before we move on?
That's it. I just wanted to try one because sestinas intimidate me, and this seemed a little better place to start.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. In fact, this sestina, tritina, was written by that award-winning poet, what's his name? Mark Fisher?
This one? Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. So he's a pretty good poet. He's a pretty good poet. I really enjoyed his poem there. I hope we'll see it again, that it'll get published somewhere. Okay?
Okay.
Maybe something odd or even about it. I was thinking that over, right? Because we have the theme for Spectrum 27 is odd or even.
You
And
got
this has an even number of lines, but it has an odd number of words. And maybe that works. I don't know.
and 3 groups of 3 lines.
Yeah, that's odd.
That's odd.
What's
Right.
the pattern?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you know,
A, B, C.
down with the pattern was, can you show it one more time?
Let's see.
That was a good question.
It's a
Chris
little
asked.
more linear. Okay.
Let's see that pattern. That is, why didn't I think of that? Thank you, Chris. Let's see it one more time.
Oops.
Well, look at the pattern itself. I glossed that over because I'm worried about time. Okay. Can unfolding road, road can unfolding, unfolding road can. That's quite a mix. That's a 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1. I should have wrote that down.
The end is
1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, and then 2, 3, 1.
Yes.
Got it. And
the
the envoy is all 3 words.
the envoy is
All 3 words. I guess the order is
I did 1, 2, 3, but
1,
I
2, 3.
don't know that it matters.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, it's any way to put some kind of order on it, and that's a tritina. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Got to steamroll along here. So nice to see that poem. All right, I'm going to go to a fellow who really knows how to research, Mr. Chris Askew. He's got something phenomenal to share with you. Go ahead, Chris.
oh yeah. The can I first share a sestina that I found in my researches that does 2 things. One, it's a little bit funny, but 2, it highlights what I think is one of the interesting things about a sestina is its rhythm gets made kind of pleasantly awkward by the fact that you're repeating these in words in so many different ways.
It makes me want to see it even more.
Yeah,
Got it.
let me put it up here.
I've heard of sestinas where you put the 6 words inside the poem as well. That's pretty tricky.
Yeah, they're
Wow, there's some real variations of this poem. Here we go.
all out there. Can we see this?
Yes, yes. John Ashberry.
Farm implements and rutabagas in a landscape.
Oh, it just disappeared. What happened?
Hmm?
We had the poem and it went away. I don't know why. The window shrunk like this. It was like this. There. Okay, it's good. Now it's good. Go ahead.
Okay. Farm implements and rutabagas in a landscape by John Ashberry. The first of the encoded messages read, Popeye sits in thunder, unthought of. From that shoebox of an apartment, from livid curtains hue, a tangram emerges, a country. Meanwhile, the sea hag was relaxing on a green couch. How pleasant to spend one's vacation in La Casa de Popeye. She scratched her cleft chin's solitary hair. She remembered spinach. And was going to ask Wimpy if he had brought any spinach. Beloved, he intercepted, the plains are decked out in thunder today, and it shall be as you wish. He scratched the part of his head under his hat. The apartment seemed to grow smaller, but what if no pleasant inspiration plunges now to the stars? For this is my country. Suddenly they remembered how it was cheaper in the country. Wimpy was thoughtfully cutting open a number 2 can of spinach when the door opened and Sweepy crept in. How pleasant, but Sweepy looked morose. A note was pinned to his bib. Thunder and tears are unavailing, it read. Henceforth shall Popeye's apartment be but a remembered space, toxic or salubrious, whole or scratched. Olive came hurtling through the window. Its geranium scratched her long thigh. I have news, she gasped. Popeye forced us, you know, to flee the country. One musty, gusty evening, by the schemes of his wizened duplicate father, jealous of the apartment and all it contains, myself and Spinach in particular, heaves bolts of loving thunder at his own astonished becoming, rupturing the pleasant arpeggio of our years. No more shall pleasant rays of the sun refresh your sense of growing old, nor the scratched tree trunks and mossy foliage, only immaculate darkness and thunder. She grabbed Sweet Pea. I'm taking the brat to the country. But you can't do that. He hasn't even finished his spinach, urged the sea hag, looking fearfully around at the apartment. But Olive was already out of earshot. Now the apartment succumbed to a strange new hush. Actually, it's quite pleasant here, thought the sea hag. If this is all we need fear from Spinach, then I don't mind so much. Perhaps we should invite Alice the goon over. She scratched one dog pensively. But Whippy is such a country bumpkin, always burping like that. Minute at first, the thunder soon filled the apartment. It was domestic thunder, the color of spinach. Popeye chuckled and scratched his balls. It sure was pleasant to spend a day in the country.
Wow.
Everything you always
I am practically speechless. How did he come up with those 6 words? If you have the word spinach, you're going to have Popeye, huh?
yeah.
Under, apartment, country. What were the other 3? Thunder, apartment, country, pleasant, scratched, spinach. Wow. John, how did he come up with that line, Mr. Ashberry?
Probably asked a group of people to give him 6 words.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a technique that he shares with me. Farm implements and rutabagas in a landscape. Wow. Oh, that was so much fun. You know, it was a combination of simplicity and intelligence put together. It's like I could probably read, you know, you could probably read this poem to a child and they would enjoy it. You know, if they understand all the words, they would get the story.
Yeah.
And conversely, you know, an intelligent reader, an adult reader can read it and get so much more than just the humor.
Yeah. It also strikes me as something that one might do if one were generally frustrated with the idea of a sestina and wanted to poke at it.
Yeah, all right. He's having fun with it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What a fun poem. What a fun poem. It
Look
still
at
says something.
the other thing.
But that's not all you have to share, right? There's something else that could be very useful.
I have to get it where you can see it, though.
Yeah.
When I was researching on sestinas, I found that somebody had written and posted the skeleton of a sestina template in Excel. The idea being that the order of the lines in a sestina are fixed by tradition. And if you come up with your 6 words, you don't have to decide what order they go in for the next 6, 7 verses. That your computer can do it for you. And so he gave us this thing, and I put a copy of this template in chat, so you can download it if you want to. But I'll show you what it looks like.
I'd love to have it in the video if it's possible. I've taken a look at it. Yeah. Check this out. Excel.
You can see it.
Yes. Yes.
You can see that, well, if nothing else, you can print out this front page and you've got the order. You don't have to write it down on a piece of paper. Also note that even in the things I was looking up, there were variations in how the envoy would, what the pattern for the envoy was. So I've included 4 of them that I've found. One from Poetry Foundation, one from poets.org, one from Elizabeth Bishop, who did one of these, but only one. And an alternate traditional one. But you will see. You want to give me your 6 favorite things, Don, and we'll.
Oh, that's my poem. I'm keeping it for myself. I
Uh-huh.
can't write it, and this episode's got to be short today because I have to go to the airport. But I
Yeah.
will write one. I promise. I will, and I'll share it next time.
They'll just throw 6 words at me. There's 6 of us, so we'll each give a word. Don,
Oh.
what's yours?
All right, I'm going to take it from the National Poetry Month. Today is Poem in Your Pocket Day.
Okay.
So from this, I will point randomly at a word, and the word is day.
Say that again.
Day. D-A-Y. Day.
Hold on to your right.
Okay.
Spell it.
Just by pointing. Day.
Day.
Yeah, you have to open it up in order to type in there. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Day. On to the next person.
Yeah. Jackie, give me a word.
Pain. Pain.
Pain. Right, we're picking non-rhyming words. Pain. Hey, what a coincidence that Chris needs to do this, and now suddenly we have 6 people. How perfect.
Mark, what's yours?
Excited.
Excited.
Good, that doesn't rhyme. Excellent.
And James?
Payment.
Sorry?
Payment.
Payment.
Like payment?
Like that?
Yep.
Okay. Coco? Give me a word. Any word.
Purple.
Purple.
And you got to do one yourself, Chris.
Yes, I have to do one myself. Random word.
From a random source.
Ninja. Okay. Then you can see what this does. It's given you the outlines for the rest of your poem. Everything is down there on the right. And down here it gives you
Choices. Yeah, wow.
you have to put those 2 words in according to tradition. You do it in that order. According to these other people, you do it in this order. Now, if we really wanted to make yours easy, Mark, we could make a template for a tristina too, where you just have to type 3 words and it fills it all out for you.
What a great century we live in.
Yes. And in here is basically where you can write your lines or write the sketches of your lines. Let me bring up one that I started this morning.
Okay. Yeah, and then we're going to move on to the last 2 people. I'm sorry to rush this along, but I only have until 1.
Sure.
I have to fly to the airport.
Close this one and open this one. I thought I should try to use this myself. And I was thinking of what's coming up for the next spectrum. So I started with odd and even.
Great idea.
I was having no fun thinking of anything else. And threw in, I tend to try to rhyme anyway, but threw in some rhymes and then faked it. So this is what this part says. There are some who think it odd that in these days of great distress, those who to themselves confess no God, still wish their lost love safe in heaven, and harbor hopeless hope that they may rise to hold them once again at end of days. The weary plod of never-ending days of solitude, coarse hours of too little, then odd moments of too much, while anxious for the ever-fading rise of hope that good and ill at least would even out, no more than that would be enough of heaven to grudge the possibility of God, and so on.
Fabulous, fabulous. You're making it look easy. The Sestina template. Just another innovation in our lives. Thank you, Chris. Let me go to The two latecomers, give them a chance to say something. I don't know what James is going to say, but Mr. Coates, did you want to say something about the sestina, sir?
Yeah. So recently, like in January, February, I took a workshop, and we learned a little bit about the sestina. I had previously done a poem, sestina poem before that, but we got a little bit more in depth, and we explored, breaking the rules and taking artist liberties and stuff like that. But what I have been working on is how we turn traditional poems like this, traditional forms like the sestina into uh, uh, revolutionary poems, or social justice poems. And so I had wrote one for the events of pretty much the summer and all the protests going on.
You want to
So,
share it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fabulous.
Okay.
That's right, poems. And
Let me see. Oh, not chat. Let's see, screen share. Can you see that?
yes.
Okay. So it's titled "Cry for Justice, Give Me Liberty, or Death." And you can see which words were chosen. Streets turn broken levees and people flood furious. A hurricane thrashing equality's brittle conscience. Thunder cries out for the voiceless, no justice, no peace. We sing of freedom from terrorism. This country's pulse a powder keg ready to explode. Citizens young and old take to the streets armed with their courage, resolved to fight for a fair future. But we're blasted with tyranny shrapnel. We bore witness to oppression, inhaled smoke, ate shrapnel, peaceful protest in state after state met violence. Fed up and furious with the current conditions, we took a stand, marched courageous hand in hand, speaking of change so loud that even thunder cracked a smile. Tension reached a boiling point. Pressure must explode. I don't know any revolutions won without a bloody fight for freedom. We've been dying. What is it to sacrifice our lives to kiss the lips of freedom? Are we not at war? Haven't you seen the child soldiers filled with shrapnel? I've seen the mothers crying, fathers holding in hurt, wanting to explode, ready to unload a whole holy clip of vengeance, blind and furious. There's only so much grief the body can handle before thunder invites lightning to burn the structure down. This is the time for courage. When pain gives birth to flames, scorch the illness out of the body. Courage is the only thing left when we look in the mirror, find our freedom when digging through the ashes, because it doesn't burn like thunderous lies they have forced us to swallow. Shards of metal shrapnel every time we ask for peace and their answer changes. How don't we turn furious? Perpetually in a fight or flight, every inch of this land is a mine primed to explode. When wearing our bodies is treated as aggressive, this land primes minds to explode. We are in the battle for our lives, and every soul matters. So having the courage to stand up for justice feels as if we're kneeling on their necks. Furious, they look for ways to put us back in our place. Lock away our freedom to break that spirit and silence that power. Let them feel our shrapnel. Ask who turned us dangerous, pulled our pen and threw us to become thunder. Clear the crowd with our bomb. I promise they cannot destroy thunder, even if it feels like no charges filed becomes a can of tear gas exploding in our faces. How dare we see what is happening, or pull the shrapnel fragments from our eyes and scream of the abuse. Unifying and courage is the last thing oppressors want us to do. Recognize that freedom doesn't exist unless we all have access to it. So prepare to fight furious. This thunder is not a performance. Our bones will become shrapnel, furiously bursting out of the coffins they put our ancestors in, exploding their house of cards, courageously demanding freedom and justice, or else.
Woo!
Thank you.
Spectacular. Can you bring it up to the beginning of the poem? Yeah, so Your sestina is a prime example of the dictionary definition of sestina, which is highlighting an idea. So you chose words to highlight an idea, and they did their dance on the page. And because of that, there was this rhythm that occurs very naturally in sestina between the stanzas, right? Because the word repeats.
Mhm.
And you were very inventive with that. You know, you didn't do too much poetic license here, really. You stayed faithful to the words. But if you go to the stanza, it's toward the end. It's the stanza about explode. Yeah. And you said every inch of this land is a mine primed to explode. And then you know, I just loved when it said at the end of that first line, this land primes mines to explode. That was very subtle. Very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fine example of sestina. And I'm glad it's going to be something people can see in this episode. They can pause and read it and really enjoy the powerful imagery you have in that poem. It's just very well done.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
with the
it'll
limited time I have- oh, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
it'll be part of the other poetic forms that are explored in the new book coming out. Hopefully this year. Midnight
No,
Imaginings.
it's coming. Yeah. All right. That's good news. Like I said, I'm a little bit rushed, so I got to give Coco some time here. Did you want to say something about the sestina, Coco?
I've never written one, and so I'm really excited about today's episode. I look forward to Chris's Excel sheet. I've wanted to write one, and James Coates masterfully just powered that out. So I can't wait to pre-order that book. And when that poem wins all kinds of awards, I'll say, I got it first. Is the sestina the one that the poet laureate, youth poet laureate read for the inauguration? Was that a sestina?
No, not at the inauguration, but she did write one in school.
Oh,
So
okay.
we showed it earlier in the episode, so you'll be able to see it when you watch this episode.
How cool! How cool! Yeah. You know, I've always wanted. I've always wanted to explore different forms of poetry. So this is going to be awesome. I wish I got here earlier, but unfortunately, I had prior commitments.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you one more sestina before we have to conclude, because I think it's going to go really nice juxtaposed with James' poem. All about the internal rhythms going on in the sestina. Now I have to just remember the name of the sestina after all these years from 2008. Oh yeah, there it is. All right. All right, I'm ready. Share screen. This is a linear sestina, okay? It doesn't follow the traditional order. Okay, this one literally goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, linear. And it's got a rhythm going on because of the lengths of the lines. These aren't quite as long as James' lines, but you'll feel a similar effect. This one is not as serious. But these were the 6 words that were given to me in a workshop back in 2008. And you can guess what poet gave me the last word. Green, bell, apples, dreadful, toenail, assholes. Green bell apples versus dreadful toenail assholes. And that word was brought to you by the beloved Kaloki. Thank you, Kaloki. I want to write a poem about clipping one's toenails. That's my idea, to start with something dreadful. But then I think of what is even worse, assholes. And I realize I need a pleasant counterbalance, like apples. A universally loved fruit, historically important, red or green. This contrast wonderfully causes my brain to ring like a bell. I decide I'll try to get every word to sound like a bell. For example, I dig the noise made by each clip of toenails. It's good to cut them. It's like eating something green, which results in fine digestion, a subject considerably dreadful to some, until you remind them that it's grown apples chewed and swallowed that help to unplug stopped assholes. You definitely want to keep doctors away from assholes. When they get a hold of you, you reverberate inside like a bell. Thus, a diet of the good stuff is essential, like mature apples and bananas and oatmeal and gelatin for your toenails. I hear it comes from animal fat. How nauseatingly dreadful to contemplate. I've got to shift theme. A tree is green. That's better. Our world is mostly filled with glorious green. Trees and bushes and grasses, and hopefully not just assholes. That would be unpleasant, right? Another notion dreadful, like oil slicks and car exhaust and stock traders clanging a bell to signal the start of trading. There's a concept without visible toenails. How do we get back to nature in this concrete land of few apples? By focusing some time on what gives us a quality of living like apples, and take an afternoon off to walk in a park or wilderness that's green, a place where one can remove one's shoes, expose them toenails, maybe even find a lonely spot to excrete onto dirt from assholes, like design intended. Remember, we discovered how to cast a bell, forge furnaces, direct sewage through corrugated pipes so dreadful. And what about us? The modernized people who become dreadful with our loud stereos, air conditioning, paper waste, pre-packaged apples, filling landfills and stopping up rivers. We need a real warning bell to toll in our heads to call us to ponder again the value of green. Instead, we drive and fly our cyberspace opinions like assholes. Everybody's got a justification. But what about freeing those toenails? Yes, it's all down to toenails freedom or leather shoes dreadful. When it's the assholes that rule, we diminish the number of apples. So go for the green life and make your own cause a cleansing bell. Okay, so I think I legitimized the linear sestina there. And just in time too, because I got 2 minutes. So I'm out of time. I want to thank everybody for contributing to this sestina episode. And it will be available on YouTube later tonight because I got to come back from the airport and process the recording. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, James. Thank you, Coco. We did a fine job with the 6 of us on the sestina. I will now conclude this recording.